I was young then, but the oldest of my 3 brothers and 1 sister. The year was 1987, on a cold Christmas Eve morning. I was awoken by screams of laughter of my family in the living room. "Come on, Peter, wake up! Your eyes look like a raccoon. Have you been crying, Peter? You had a bad dream, didn't you? You have red streaks down your eyes," shouted Cynthia, my only sister. She was the youngest of my family, and was still dressed in her all-yellow pajamas. "Give me a minute. I'll come out," I said with no expression. "What? Out of this smelly old box? Please do." "Oh, wait. All hell would break loose, wouldn't it?" she said with a smirk. "Just get out," I shouted. She ran out of my room, laughing. My box, I thought as I walked out of my room. I went to the living room and crossed my family sitting on the floor around the Christmas tree. It seems that the rest of my family woke up. We all still had our pajamas on, all but my mother and father. Brad, the second youngest, was still in his purple shirt and pants he wore to bed. Same goes with Frank, who was the middle child, only had brown shorts on, and Fred, who with pajama pants with a torn design, if I'm correct on that. I too was wearing my pajamas, but mine were all black, with knee-high black socks with a white striped design. I also wore a white buttoned shirt with white striped sleeves. Yeah, my pajamas were the clothes I wore yesterday. "Okay, Daddy, we're all awake now. Can we open them? Can we? Can we?" Brad shouted in excitement. As I said before, my father wasn't in his pajamas. He was in his work outfit he was in last night. A security guard outfit, if I remember correctly. "Sure, go on ahead," he said as he wrapped his arms around my mother with the happiest grin I have ever seen on him. Frank was the first one there. He seems to be the fastest of the 4 younger ones. The only one that was faster than him was me. Frank tore his present with the mighty pull of his right hand and revealed, through the wrapping, a hook and eye patch. "Arr!" he growled as he put the hook and patch on himself. "I'm a pirate." "Aren't I the prettiest chicken of them all?" Cynthia said with her new tail feathers and beak. "Are you a duck?" Brad asked. "No, stupid!" Cynthia shouted. "Cynthia, be nice," my mother shouted with authority. "I said I was a chicken," Cynthia said quietly. "Oh," Brad sighed. "Can you guess what I am?" he asked. Brad received a set of ears and paws of a rabbit. "You're a bunny," I answered with confidence. "Yeah, you're right." "Wait," Fred questioned. "What is this thing?" My father stepped up to show Fred how to use it. "This is a microphone," he explained. "When you plug it into an amp, what?" Brad asked. My father laughed. "We'll let Peter open it. It's his present after all." Everyone turned to me with all different eye colors. My father's was white due to his contacts. Brad's was a violet red. Cynthia's were a purplish hue. Fred's was a deep blue, and Frank's were a different color than normal, which was a bright yellow. Since me and my father were much alike, we both got contacts due to our eyesight. My design was called Demon Soul. I liked the name, so I got it. It made my eyes look as if they were all black with a little white dot in the middle, where my corneas can see. All eyes were on me. I began to blush. "He's blushing," Cynthia chuckled. I crossed over, dodging empty boxes and wrapping paper to grab the present under the tree. I sat in the middle, with all my family members crouching and sitting around me in awe for what is in store for me. This was a family gift. As I torn the present open, what greeted me was a guitar. A deep blue colored Fender 6-string guitar. My mouth dropped from the sight. "We're definitely playing with that tonight, are we?" Brad asked. "Of course, my man," I said with a grin. "Well, I have to head out on my business trip, my brother broke out. As my mother started for the door with her coat and hat on, reaching for her purse and door, Cynthia charged for my mother, reaching out for her. She asked, "Mommy, promise me you will be back before Christmas?" My mother began to cry, breaking into thick tears. "After what your father said to me, I may never come back," she told us. We were all shocked. "Goodbye," as she walked out to the door, sobbing. We didn't know what to say. It was such a joyous moment of celebration. How could it be ruined just like that? "Dad," I broke out, "what did you tell Mother?" "Kids, go to your rooms," my father started. Fred, Frank, Brad, and Cynthia all went to their rooms, and as I started for my room, my father grabbed my arm. "Except you," he said demandingly. Fear shot up my back. What could he want of me? "Son, the reason your mother left is..." I told her what really happened to her that night last month. She may not remember it, but at the time, I was too heartbroken to tell her. I stared at my father, concentrating on every word that was falling out of his mouth. "I lied to you guys. It wasn't a car crash that made her lose her frontal lobe. It was a bite from I don't know what. I had too much adrenaline flowing in me to remember what really got her." My eyes widened. You see, I told her today, thinking it was the right time to I was thinking that it was the right time. It was our anniversary. I guess it wasn't. I'm surprised she held it together for so long before she walked out on us. "Her business trip?" I asked. "When the hell has your mother been on a business trip in her job?" my father exaggerated. I turned around to hear my brothers and sis playing with their new gifts, role-playing of a sort. Sad to think that they are too young to know what just happened, and to know that Cynthia is going to get her promise she made to her mother. I'm going to go to my room. I need to think about all this. I started to my room, and my father said, "Please understand that it was not you or your siblings' fault. It was strictly mine." I turned and said, "So, the bite of 87 that were on the papers, that was our mother?" My father nodded. "And there was a man in all purple as well. Do you know who that was? It was apparently important to the story." My father moved nervously, looking around for sanctuary. "Never seen the man in my life," my father finally said. "Huh. Strange." I shrugged. "The purple man was there during the bite of 87, and when the 5 children went missing. So coincidental," I explained. "Yes, indeed." "Well, head off to your room then. I have plans for what I'm going to do tonight. A surprise to all of you," my father said as he walked into his room. I didn't think nothing of it at the time. How could I have been so stupid, so neglectful of what was about to happen? I went into my room and reached for my stuffed puppet. It was all wooden, dressed in all pink and blue from head to toe, other than his shoes, which were brown. I sat on my bed thinking to myself, holding the puppet. "You have been with me all my life, my marionette. Why do I feel that you're so important to me?" I thought to myself. I then took the strings of the puppet and made it grab a gift box and gave it to the kids I had set up in the corner of my room. "Merry Christmas," I said softly, then breaking into tears. I laid in my bed, thinking about what my father said, my mother leaving, and then I went to sleep. I woke up, feeling groggy. It was nightfall. I yawned and started to get up from my bed, until it happened. "No, you can't," I thought to myself. A loud shriek came from the living room, and I sprinted out of my room, greeted by an inferno of smoke and fire. I could barely breathe, not knowing I was holding the marionette in my hand. I made it to the hallway, seeing my father covered in blood, holding a knife, grinning at me with piercing white eyes. The bodies of my siblings laying there, lifelessly with their gifts they received, all beginning to burn and wither. Fred, Frank, Brad, and Cynthia, my family, dead. Father? I coughed. Why? The only words that slowly flowed out of my father's mouth were, "You can't," as he started towards me. "Dad, please don't do this." I started to cry heavily until he put me into the corner of the living room. "You know," he started as he put the blood-stained knife to my throat, "you were always my favorite child." Then the sharp blade pierced through my skin as red life spilled out of me. I couldn't breathe. I just stared at those white eyes, seeing a purple hue flowing off of my father. "You can't," he repeated, as my body fell to the ground. I don't remember much after. I was overtaken by a friendly soul. I recognized the face. It was my marionette. I was holding it before I died. It stretched its hand out to me. "Take my form," it said. So I reached out and grabbed its hand, and then I was overtaken by an array of bright yellows and reds. I was back in my house, seeing lifeless entities of my family members standing over their bodies. They look as if they were see-through, all identical with black streaks where once tears were. Are they dead? Am I dead? I turned to see my lifeless body in a pool. I'm dead. But living? What am I? I was the marionette, but I was me. I turned to see my father dragging out a golden suit in the living room, trying to head for the door. "Father!" I said to him. He stopped and turned, almost forgetting that the house was burning, to see all of his children that were killed standing before him. He was in awe. To see us, living but not living? With revenge, I started towards my father. He evaded my attempts to strike at him. In my quick and agile form I have overtaken. He was by the golden suit again, beginning to surge in the fire. With a malevolent grin and the most villainous laughter, he hopped in the suit for safety. "Ha!" he shouted vigorously. "You can't!" This went from my father's win to my father's downfall in less than a second. The spring locks in the suit released and crushed him from the inside, releasing a final shriek as it crushed the dark soul residing in him. The ruby red blood shot out of his body, painting the singed walls with crimson. He crawled to the corner where my body was, shaking from fear and death's grip. I am so cold, my children, so cold. Please help me. My father said with a dying breath. I broke out. "Sorry, Father, we can't," as we all disappeared in the afterlife.